Welcome to Motherhood from the Brain, a podcast guiding moms of preteen girls on how to navigate emotional challenges that are not addressed in school. We share real stories, expert advice, and brain-based methods for handling tough moments. Discover insights to create a deeper connection with your preteen and improve your motherhood journey. Let's tackle the uncharted territory of parenting together. Hosted by professional certified coach, Esther Mbabazi.
Before we begin, I want to share a brief disclaimer. I am not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or any other licensed mental health professional. On this podcast, Motherhood and the Brain, I share what has personally helped me improve my mental and emotional well-being. My hope is that by sharing my experiences, I might help even one mother out there who is struggling. Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for listening in from where you're listening in from. This is the 30th episode of the Motherhood and the Brain podcast. My name is Esther Mbabazi, and today we are diving into a topic that so many parents struggle with, yelling at their preteens. If you have been listening for some time, for a while, you probably see that there is a theme. I talk about yelling a lot. I address yelling on this podcast. It is because I work primarily with moms who are successful in their work, in their businesses, in their professions, and they yell at their preteen children. But they want to stop yelling such that their preteens feel safe enough to come to them and not fearful of their parents' mother's reaction. So, do you ever feel like yelling is the only way to get your preteen to listen? Well, stick around because I'm about to share a secret with you that could change your relationship with your child. Yelling is something that many of us have done. Sometimes it feels like the louder we yell, the better chance we have of being heard. But here's the thing. It is not about how loud you can yell. It's about how well you can manage your own reactions. Think about it this way. Like imagine you're in a game of tug of war. If you're pulling with all your might, but your grip is weak, you're just going to tire yourself out. Yelling at your child is like pulling with all your might, but not holding on properly. You might win some battles here and there, but it won't help you win the game in the long run. And the truth is, you might believe that your preteen is pushing your buttons on purpose. I have been there and I have worked with other moms who have been there. You might think that your child's behavior is the cause of your yelling. But what if I told you that it's actually your own interpretations about your child's behavior that lead you to yell? Let me repeat that. What if I told you that it's actually your own interpretations about your child's behavior that leads you to yell? Imagine your child, a preteen, like a mirror. She reflects back to you what you show her. If you show her frustration and anger, she will reflect frustration and anger back to you. If you show her calm, she will reflect calm back to you. Now, I know as a mom, you might be thinking, but if I don't yell, then my preteen will grow up to be unruly and entitled. And I understand because this is a common fear. Sometimes from time to time, I still have this fear. But this is an unfounded, baseless fear. You can learn to set rules and boundaries and give consequences. It just means that you are setting those rules and those boundaries and giving consequences from a place of calm and understanding and not frustration and anger. I go in depth about this with my clients, but for now, it is important to understand the difference between addressing symptoms of yelling at your preteen and addressing the root cause of yelling, which are your underlying triggers. Our urge to yell often stems from a natural emotional response in the brain. This response can be triggered by your preteen's behavior and your immediate reactions to that behavior. Our urge to yell also comes from our cultural upbringing, our cultural conditioning, and our beliefs about how motherhood should be, what we think is normal behavior, and how much control we should have over our children. Think of your emotional life as a turbulent sea. If the waves of the sea crash wildly, they can be dangerous. But if you learn to steady the waters so they do not create wild waves, then you can sail through the sea calmly. And I understand this sounds wild to somebody who is used to yelling, and I have been there. I'm so thankful I never gave up on myself. I kept going. Even if I failed, I kept going. I picked myself up and kept going. I'm so thankful that I made it on the other side. So I understand that it doesn't make sense. Like, we have been brought up to think that other people make us angry. Our children trigger us. They push buttons in us. Our children make us, like, their behavior makes us want to climb walls, all those things. And I have understanding for that. I understand where that comes from. But I'm also here to tell you that you have a choice and you can do something about it. You do not have to be reactive every time they do something or they don't do something. You do not have to react with yelling and agitation. You don't have to do that. There is a choice. You have a choice, and you can learn how to take a step back so you do not become reactive. And the way to do that is by managing things that trigger you. If by learning how to approach and look at your child's behavior through being curious instead of being reactive and judgmental. Like, when something happens, you can cultivate the skill of being curious about what is happening. Why is this triggering me so much? I don't actually like to say triggering, but I'm just going to say it for the purpose of this podcast. When something happens, or when your child does something or doesn't do something, and you are led into some yelling scenario, it doesn't help beating yourself up and calling yourself names and thinking you're failing. It does not help. What helps is becoming curious. I wonder what's going on for me. Why did I react like that? Is there another way to look at what is going on? Like, what am I not? I like to ask myself, what am I not seeing? What am I not seeing? What am I not understanding here? What is leading me to yell like this? Let me give an example. If you are like me and you grew up in a home where children were, or in an environment, not necessarily home, but an environment where children were supposed to drop whatever they had or whatever they were doing to go and do what the adult asked them to do. I was brought up in an environment like that. When you were asked to do something as a child, you had to drop whatever you had going on to go and do the thing that the adult has asked for. And if you did not do that, it equated to being disrespectful and disobedient. But because of the nature of our brains, because of the way the human brain is made, we pick up those things. We pick up those beliefs. We pick, for example, in this case, we pick up a belief that if a child does not drop whatever they are doing to go and to do what you have asked, you think they are disrespectful. You think you're a failure. you start to question whether there's something wrong with you, since you can't get this child to do what you ask them to do immediately. And this is what leads to yelling. Yelling is like when you yell, then you feel bad for yelling, and then you question your parenting abilities. You think there's something wrong with you. Why can't they drop whatever they have to go and do what you want them to do? And in an attempt to reassure yourself that you are not failing, you raise your voice to get them to do the thing. You understand what I mean? Like, it becomes like this loop you can't get out of. But what I mean by being curious is, I wonder why she or he did not get up to go do what I asked. Could it be maybe he's too immersed in what he's doing? Could it be because children have the same brains the same way we do, and a human brain likes to put off things and to think that it will do things later, aka procrastination? Is it because my child has different priorities than I do? Like picking up things, maybe toys, maybe putting their room in order is not a priority for them right now, because we, like it or not, we have different priorities. My priorities are not the same as my child's priorities. Everybody has different priorities. And when you become curious to what is going on, why they are displaying the behavior they are displaying, you will be surprised what the brain comes up with. But you have to allow yourself to be curious. Allow yourself to be angry, but at the same time curious, to be frustrated, but at the same time curious to what is really going on here. Like, I wonder, like, if a child is immersed in what they are doing, if maybe they are playing a game or video game, or they are on their computer, or they are talking on the phone to their friend, like, and they don't hang up immediately, why do you think it is disrespectful? Because we do the same. If I'm talking on the phone or you're talking on the phone, you don't want another person to tell you to hang up, then why would you want your child to do that? Does that mean you are failing because your child can't hang up the phone? Does that mean you are failing? Like, you have to be curious and ask yourself questions and find answers to those questions. The most important skill I have learned through doing this work, what we call thought work, the most important thing I have learned about thought work is not to believe everything my brain presents me with, especially in the moment. When things happen in the moment and these sentences come in our brains, because many of us, I don't know about you, but I went to school many years, and nobody ever taught me that skill of not believing everything my brain throws at me. Like, looking at what my brain throws at me with curiosity and compassion. The brain is just doing its job, but it is my job to filter what the brain is telling me. So if my brain is telling me that my child not standing up immediately and doing what I asked is being disrespectful, I don't have to believe that. I know that now, of course, but I didn't know that 4 years ago, but I know that now. So I don't have to believe everything. I can question it and see whether it is serving me or not serving me, and make a conscious decision to go ahead with that sentence or to leave it and find a new sentence that is beneficial to me and my goals. So this is how we learn to manage triggers. And when we learn to manage our triggers, we can create a safer environment, a more open environment where our kids, your kids, feel safe to come to you and not fearful of your reaction. Thank you so much for listening today. Talk to you again next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Your time means the world to us. If you found this episode valuable, we would be immensely grateful if you could spare a moment to visit Apple Podcasts and share your thoughts through a review. Your feedback plays a vital role in helping fellow moms discover our podcast and enrich their own motherhood experiences. Take care, and bye for now.